he realizes, like, no, this person doesn't sound the same. Like, this voice sounds a bit different. And basically, the voice says that Luke will find the person and that the Jedi shall rise again.
That is the system, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them. Set your course for the Hoth system. General Veers.
Hello there. I'm Darren.
And I'm Doogie.
And we're taking a look through the real sequels. The series of books, novels, and sometimes comics that happened after Episode 6 in the Expanded Universe. Today we're looking at Chapter 12 and Chapter 13.
Yes, we have a double whammy for you today.
Yes, but first things first, folks. You owe me a shirt.
What do you mean?
You owe me a shirt.
I don't ever remember agreeing this.
I think you did.
I refuse to pronounce.
I'm drawing you.
I refuse to pronounce it Sabayoth. It's Kabouth. It is Kabouth.
Just as long as you're comfortable in the knowledge that you're wrong. And now you have to. Ah, crap. I have to draw you without a shirt.
Just like awkwardly stick Ben Swallow's chest over, like don't even crop, don't even like magic select it. Just stick it over.
That's actually perfect.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for solutions.
Yeah. So now that we're all a bit more comfortable,
yes, let's get this extravaganza underway.
Yeah. So. Chapter 12 starts off with Han, Leia, and Chewie on the Falcon arriving at the Niklon system. And they're met by an X-Wing that has New Republic markings. And the X-Wing contacts the Falcon. And they claim to be Luke. But Han is on edge after Bipfash. Because, as you remember from 2 weeks ago, the grey-skinned aliens tried to trick Han, Leia, and Wedge to get aboard a duplicate Millennium Falcon that they'd found. So Han is thinking to himself, is this another trick? Like, what's going on? So he's sitting trying to work out, what can I do to try and find out if this is the real Luke or not without actually giving away their identities? Because the whole point of them coming to Niklon is that they're trying to be secretive. They're trying to hide from these grey-skinned aliens that keep attacking them. And they know that there must be some way that these grey-skinned aliens are finding out their location. So they're trying to keep it as secret as possible. They're not broadcasting the identity of the Millennium Falcon. They're not giving their names to anyone in Niklon. So they don't want to just broadcast and say like, hey, look, it's Han, like, what's going on, buddy? So Han's like, what do I do? The X-Wing's getting closer, what's going on? And then Leia, she comes up with the idea of using 3PO over the comm to talk to R2, because obviously you can find someone to fake Luke Skywalker's voice, but you can't fake R2 and C-3PO's relationship. Like, that's...
It's both the cutest and the nerdiest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. But it's so true.
It is. And of course, as soon as C-3PO comes up and starts talking to R2, they start bickering about, danger and adventures and all the stuff that they always do. It's just fantastic. There's a great wee line where Han is like, most smugglers avoid women that can think quicker than them, but Han is so thankful for it. Like, he wouldn't have it any other way. I love wee notes like that. You get to see like wee snippets of Han and Leia's relationship and their marriage and stuff. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. But yeah, so they are making their way to Niklon, and Luke's X-Wing and the Millennium Falcon, they're getting escorted by a shield ship. This is a giant ship. It basically looks like a massive umbrella. It's as wide as about half the length of a Star Destroyer, so it's pretty big. It has all these like radiator fins on the underside of it. It blocks out the viewport completely, so when the Falcon is behind it, you can't see anything that's coming. And on the shaft of this ship, there's basically a wee like tugboat that is what moves it along. And the tugboat says, if you link up to our slave circuit, then we can get going. And Han and Chewie are like, no, we don't have a slave circuit, and we're not gonna do that. There's a great line where Han says, we don't slave this ship to anything, ever. And it's just... I just love that, because it gets across in like one line Han and Chewie's complete mentality of we are slaves to no one, and that's how they always been. And obviously there's context there with Chewie being a slave and stuff, but it's just that sums up Han's like life goals, you know. We are free,
and the love for the ship as well, like that kind of thing of like, nah, nothing can touch the Falcon.
Yeah, it's ours, it's no one else's. We're never going to give control of it to anyone else. But that of course means that they have to go to Niklon at sublight speeds. So instead of taking 1 hour using lightspeed jump, it takes them 10 hours to get there. So about 10 hours later, they make it to the dark side of Niklon. They're heading for Lando's mining operation, which is called Nomad City. Now basically, this is a city that Lando has made himself out of an old dreadnought cruiser and 40 AT-ATs underneath it. And the dreadnought is being carried along the surface of Niklon by the 40 AT-ATs.
It looks pretty epic. I gotta say that the comic makes it look pretty epic.
But of course it makes so much sense because they can't build a permanent settlement on this planet, because as soon as it comes to the light side, they'll get destroyed by the intensity of the sun, because the planet is that close to the sun. Like, that's also why they need the shield chip, because it would just melt through like a ship in minutes. So Han makes contact with Lando. Him and Lando are talking over the comm link whenever a loud squeal comes across, and the comm signal is being jammed.
Cue scene.
So as soon as the comms get jammed, Chewie takes over and starts doing evasive maneuvers. Leia begins scanning the area for incoming ships, and Han starts working with the comm to try and break through the jamming and make contact with Lando. And they get through fairly quickly to Lando, and Lando says that there's an Imperial Star Destroyer inbound, and that's where chapter 12 ends, on that cliffhanger. So you can see why we're doing 12 and 13 together this week.
Oh yeah, I mean, we wouldn't leave you guys on a cliffhanger until we do.
But yeah, so chapter 13 opens with Luke in the X-Wing, and comms are being jammed, but Luke sees the Falcon pull up and out of the landing vector for the city. So Luke follows the Falcon and he sets his S-foils to attack position. He deals with the jamming and makes contact with the Falcon, and Han tells Luke that there's a Star Destroyer incoming. And they talk about, you know, what kind of plan they're going to make. And they figure out, well, the Star Destroyer itself won't put up much of a fight because its sensors and most of its armaments have actually probably been burnt off by the time it'll make its way into the shadow of the planet. The bigger problem is the TIE fighters that are sitting in the Star Destroyer's hangar bay. They won't be damaged at all once they arrive. So they make a quick plan. Basically, Lando doesn't have that many people and they're kind of inexperienced, so he's going to keep his fighters at the city to try and defend Nomad City as best they can. So that pretty much just leaves Luke in the X-Wing and the Falcon to deal with the majority of the fighting. So Luke suggests that he will fly ahead of the Falcon and he will use the Force to try and muddle the TIE fighter pilots' perceptions, and that will make them easier targets for the Falcon to shoot down. So they head off towards the Star Destroyer and Luke closes his eyes and he starts to enter like a meditation trance. But as Luke enters the trance, he hears a voice call out to him. He thinks it's Ben because it's a voice through the Force, and Ben's been the only one that's ever really talked to him that way before, so he immediately thinks it's Ben. But then he realizes, no, this person doesn't sound the same. This voice sounds a bit different. And basically the voice says that Luke will find the person and that the Jedi shall rise again. The voice starts to trail off, and Luke's obviously calling out to them, who are you? What are you talking about? Where are you? How am I going to find you? All this kind of stuff, but the voice doesn't really answer. And then, Luke breaks the connection and comes out of the trance, and it's been half an hour and the battle is over. The Star Destroyer has left the dark side of the planet and is now fleeing towards hyperspace. They destroyed 2 of the TIE fighters before the rest of the squadron flew off. And Han explains to Luke there were other like ships in amongst the TIE fighters as well. They looked kind of boxy, and Han thought they might have been like troop transports or something, but they weren't sure. They'd never really seen that kind of ship before. But they've all been chased off, so basically the battle is over when Luke comes out of that trance. So for the final bit of chapter 13, we switch to Thrawn, Pelion, and C'baoth aboard the Chimera, and they are observing the whole battle from very far away, and they can see that the Star Destroyer is jumping to light speed. C'baoth says that the mission was a success, that they managed to capture 51 of the mole miners that Lando had been using for mining on the planet Niklon, and as well as that, C'baoth had made contact with Luke Skywalker, and Thrawn pauses at this, and he's clearly very annoyed when he's asking, like, why didn't you tell me Luke Skywalker was here? What are you doing contacting him? Like, it's too soon. But C'baoth is kind of like, I told you that I would take care of Luke. You focus on Leia and the twins, you know. I'm gonna go rest now. Basically, after he was exerting himself by communicating with the Star Destroyer that was flying blind through the Niklon system. So C'baoth goes off to his room to rest after arranging with Thrawn to be taken to Jomark to wait for Luke Skywalker to come to him. So C'baoth leaves, and Thrawn asks for Pelion to work out a projection for how long it would take for an X-Wing to get to Jomark from Niklon. And Pelion says even if Skywalker left now, they'd be able to make it to Jomark well in time. And Thrawn's like, yes, I expected that, but I have something a bit more complicated in mind. Would we have time to make it to Jomark, drop off C'baoth, and then backtrack about 20 light years along the flight path? And Pelion's kind of like, why are we doing that? I don't understand, Mr. Potato. He takes a wee minute to get caught up. So Thrawn says, I want to show C'baoth that he is not indispensable to us as he thinks he is. And then Pelion, he figures out that Thrawn intends to ambush Luke on the way to Jomark and stop Luke reaching C'baoth. So Pelion suggests to Thrawn that they capture Luke instead of killing him, because if they kill Luke, then C'baoth, he might return to Wayland because of that, and they don't want C'baoth to return to Wayland just yet. They need more time to get all the Ysalamiri to Wayland and to repair the Sparty cylinders, because C'baoth might not react very well to what they're doing there with the Sparty cylinders.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That's a good story for another time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. So that's where the chapter ends, with that cliffhanger.
We said we wouldn't do it, but here we go. Well, that's about all we've got for this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you all next time.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll have a shirt on next time.
Bye.
Bye.